Hi everyone, Keith here. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's second stage of grief, which was anger. And today we're going to be talking about the third stage of grief, which is bargaining. And this stage can often happen quietly inside the mind. It's the stage of what if, what if I'd done more? What if I'd called sooner? What if I'd noticed the signs? What if I'd stayed? What if I'd said I'd love them just one more time? Bargain is the mind trying to negotiate the pain, trying to rewrite the past because accepting the reality can feel too heavy and a little bit too scary sometimes. And honestly, this stage can be one of the most emotionally exhausting parts of grief, because the mind starts replaying moments over and over again, like a film on a loop that never ends, constantly searching for hours and hours, searching for answers, searching for control, searching for a different outcome. And sometimes people begin to bargain with themselves, sometimes with life, sometimes with their faith, and sometimes with guilt. And maybe if I become better, maybe this pain will stop. If I had been different, maybe they would still be here. If I can just understand why this is happening, maybe I can finally breathe and live again. But grief does not always give you answers, and that can feel unbearable. You see, bargaining often comes from helplessness, and human beings struggle deeply with that feeling of powerlessness, especially when love is involved, because the brain naturally wants cause and effect. It wants logic, it wants closure, it wants a reason. So the brain and the mind will create imaginary scenarios where maybe, just maybe, things could have been changed, things may have been different. And mentally this can become incredibly heavy. People in the bargaining stage often struggle with anxiety, guilt, overthinking, intrusive thoughts. They have sleep problems, there's an emotional exhaustion and self-blame. The nervous system can remain stuck in a cycle of mental replaying, constantly scanning the past instead of allowing the heart to slowly process the present and think about how the future could look. And here's the painful part. Many people blame themselves for things they were never truly in control of. Because grief can distort perspective. And when we love deeply, we sometimes carry impossible responsibility. We think we should have saved everyone, or at least them. We should have prevented everything. If only we could have just done something, maybe we could have fixed everything. But human being doesn't mean you're all powerful. And sometimes terrible things happen without there being any explanation for that. And that truth hurts. But accepting the truth is one of the stages to healing. So, how do we begin dealing with bargaining in grief? Firstly, notice the self-blame with compassion, not punishment. Recognise that maybe you're not as much to blame as you believe. Ask yourself gently, would I judge someone else this harshly if they were grieving? And most of the time the answer to that is no. Because we often offer others kindness while denying it to ourselves. Secondly, ground yourself in reality, not guilt. Yes, reflection can be healthy and learning can be healthy, but endlessly torturing yourself with imagined scenarios keeps the nervous system trapped in a state of suffering. You cannot heal while consistently putting yourself on trial. Third, talk about the guilt out loud. The quieter we are, grief grows. In fact, grief grows heavier in silence. Sometimes simply hearing another human being saying to you, you did the best you could with what you knew at the time, can begin softening years of self-punishment. And please remember this. Hindsight can be cruel sometimes. We look back with knowledge we did not have in the moment. We replace situations with the emotional awareness that only came as a result of the loss we had. But you cannot judge your past. You cannot judge your past self using the information your past self did not possess. And it really matters to understand that. You can only deal with the cards you had at the time. Another important part of healing with bargaining is learning to sit with uncertainty. Understanding not every question you have will have an answer. Not every wound will ever fully make sense. And part of grief is learning that closure does not always have to come from solving the pain. Sometimes it comes from learning to carry it differently. So if your mind is consistently replaying the past right now, please be gentle with yourself. You're not weak because your mind continuously keeps searching. You're not broken because part of you wishes reality could change. That is grief. That is love trying to hold on. That is the heart struggling to accept what it never wanted to lose. But healing begins when we slowly stop asking, how could I have changed the past? And when you start asking, how do I care for myself moving forward? Because your life still matters. Your heart still matters. And even after loss, you still deserve compassion and peace and healing. So, take it one breath, one day, one step at a time. Thank you for listening to the third stage of grief today, which is bargaining. The fourth stage will be tomorrow. So please follow me and watch that video. If you know anyone today who's struggling with grief and you think this video may help, please send it forward to them. And I've also got things in my shop. I don't run a shop, but it's in my shop, which has got all sorts of different things in regards to journals and self-help books and stuff, if that helps anyone. So thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.